Thank you. Okay, right, so now we have time for contributions and questions to our panel. Can I just say that as you speak, you need to depress the button in the middle of your microphone and then release it when you finish speaking, okay? So, I saw some hands there, yeah, friend here.
I don't know if Ricardo, okay, I don't know if Ricardo has arrived yet. Okay, so my name is Paulo, and I can speak a bit about the Portuguese situation. So since we started the agreement with the Troika of the International Monetary Fund and the European Commission and the European Central Bank, and since the right-wing government that took office 2 years ago, what has been happening is that unemployment has grown up to 18%, youth unemployment has gone up to 46%, debts continue to grow. So the main reason for intervention and for austerity being cutting the debts is a complete failure because it continues to grow. And what has been happening is that, as Yanis was saying, this has been used as an excuse to implement neoliberalist policies and decreasing the salaries of people. So all in private sector, all the wages are being lowered as people are being fired and the new ones get less than the old ones used to have. Wages in public administration have gone down by at least 15%, pensions have gone down by at least 15%, and the number of people working for government has been decreased by several 10,000 people, probably 50,000 people, and more are on the way. The last measures were to increase by 5 hours per week the number of hours for workers in public administration. So this is what has been happening on the government side. On the people side, what has been happening is a mixture of strikes. The next one will be next 27th of June, a general strike by all the unions. Demonstrations, the last one was on the 1st of June. That was part of the European-wide demonstrations across Europe. So there were about 1 million people demonstration in Portugal, which is a 10 million people country. And the other thing is every place where the government goes, they are either wooed or sang a song called Grandua that calls for people to unite. And also, what's happening is some of the measures taken by the government has been deemed as unconstitutional by the Supreme Court. So it's the second time now that has happened. So this is what has been happening from the resistance part, and well, we are all eager to unite across Europe, because we don't think this is just a Portuguese fight, and this is what has been tried to happen in all countries. Every country has been told, your government has been wasteful, your government was wrong, now we're going to come and fix it. This is a Portuguese problem, or a Spanish problem, or a Greek problem, and it can't be, because it's a European-wide problem, at least. So I think we are all we have all to work together. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right, I've seen loads of hands, but I'm sure we have time for everybody. I saw Chris first, then the friend at the back there. Chris, don't forget to depress the button.
Yeah, just a couple of quick questions. It's difficult to hold it down. Yeah, I mean, it just seems to me that having been actually at the Alta Summit in Athens and heard speeches and reports from lots of people across Europe, it seems to me that one of the central issues for the movement is how to kind of overcome fragmentation, that there are in all sorts of different ways, political, trade union sectionalism, kind of different forms of protest movement and so forth, and how the kind of, I don't know how to put it, but the kind of militant minority, however big it is, can start to construct a kind of united movement that can, you know, coordinate and be strategic. So I just wondered if people have any thoughts on that when you come back, just a little sense of what's going on in your various countries. The other specific question is to the Daymare comrade, is what the media here is trying to portray the movement as being, sometimes they try and portray it as being kind of hostile to Islamisation in the country and so forth. It seems to me there's kind of dangers around that whole area, and I wondered how you felt that the movement was dealing with that question of not being forced into the corner of appearing to be anti the Muslim population and so forth, because it seems to me there's a danger of divisions that could be fatal in that. Thanks.
Thanks, Chris. We'll ask the speakers to come back with their responses at the end, if that's okay. Okay, saw a friend in the corner there, and then I'll come over onto this side.
Okay,
yeah.
Thanks, Kate. My name's Martin Ralph. I came down from Liverpool this weekend as an official delegate of the Merseyside TUC. I was also elected this year its international officer, because we've been trying to build the kind of links that we've been talking about this morning. On the 26th of January, we organised a conference in Liverpool to discuss the practicalities of a general strike. And if we're going to discuss that, we thought we'd invite those who participated in a general strike. So we brought over the president and vice president of the Dock Workers Union in Lisbon, 150 people there, and people are still talking about that meeting. Obviously, there was a maximum vote, a unanimous vote, to discuss the questions of a general strike.
Press on the
Sorry. And we took that motion to the Northwest TUC, which represents nearly 1 million workers, and that voted unanimously for a general strike. Now, obviously, we have a fight in this country against those leaders in the TUC who then subsequently kind of voted that idea down. But that is very much live on the agenda. The National Conference of Trades Councils, for example, of over 100 delegates from across the country, put that question back on the agenda. So that's the kind of thing that we can do. I just wanted to say, in terms of the nature of this meeting, European Assembly Against Austerity, that on the 22nd and 24th of March, we organised an international trade union and social movement conference in Paris. It was hosted by Solidar and organised jointly with Conlutas from Brazil and CGT from Spain. And there was 230 delegates from 4 continents, 60 organisations, something like 15 trade union federations. So for the first time, they've agreed and they set up an international network of solidarity. And at the moment, there's lots of emails going about, lots of discussions about, for example, Fiume in Ferrari getting expelled from the factory and having no union rights, or some issues in Brazil and so on. So I haven't got many, but there are a few statements about what we agreed that are out on the desk. And if anybody wants one of these, then just let me know, sometime during the day, and I can sort that out.
Thank you.
Yeah, just to finish on, people are saying how bad
press the thing and wind up quick then.
Yeah, just how bad it is in some countries like Greece and Spain, and I totally agree with them. But don't forget, this government is doing exactly the same thing. I work at University of Liverpool, and 10 days ago they decided to impose a contract on us that does not have a maximum. It's not just going to do another 5 hours. It has no maximum of hours worked each week. Of course, we're going to strike, we're going to fight that, but that's the kind of situation that you're seeing in Greece. And so, thank you very much.
Thanks. Friend there in the red, yeah.
Right, my name's Carol and I'm in the RMT. But last week a delegation was sent to Turkey and my Assistant Secretary, Steve Headley, and 2 of his comrades were gassed in the square. Steve said that was a pretty horrible thing, but it was also a good thing because of the attitude and the help he got from people in the square. One gave him lemon to make sure his eyes were at all. Others gave him and our comrades tissues and met one and looked them over and to see if they were all right. They forgot about what was wrong with them, their own problems, just to make sure that these people were fine. He said to me, you know, I've been around a long time, not as long as you, but very few people have. He said, and I really learnt about solidarity. I really learnt about kindness in the square. He said, you know, in this country we've still got a long, long way to go. And he said, I really commend my comrades, my Turkish comrades. No doubt he thinks the same as other comrades as well, for their kindness. And he asked me if I got the opportunity, can I formally, on behalf of the RMT, thank the Turkish community for what happened in the square.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Friend behind there, yes, you, yeah.
That the way forward is to stand together against the right-wing economic policies of Europe, to stand in solidarity against the rise of fascist political parties. There is only one solution to the economic crisis in this world, in actual Europe. It is called socialism. If we cannot say the word socialism, we should stop talking, we should stop struggling. The struggle is about workers' rights against exploitation. Next year will be a fearsome challenge in the European elections. We have to be on the guard against Golden Dawn, the BNP, UKIP and other right-wing political forces. There is no room for fascist or racist elements in this political time. Class struggle, workers and the rights of trade union, and to tell the European Parliament of Merkel and the financial sectors to go to hell, it's people power.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a question to the comrade from Syriza to say a bit more about the current situation of the coalition. As I understand it, the junior partner of the coalition has withdrawn from it, leaving only the New Democracy and PASOK. Is it possible for the government to continue? How long can they continue? Do you expect an election soon? If so, how is Syriza preparing for the election? And do you expect more unity on the left this time than last time?
Thank you. James?
Thanks, Kate. Yesterday was a really good day for, I think, everybody that attended as a sort of UK People's Against Assembly, People's Assembly Against Austerity. But I think it's good to have us here, but there's only a fraction of us here, and I thought what was missing yesterday, I actually wasn't able to get to the sessions because I was running the Greece Solidarity campaign stall. But as Chris has pointed out, there is some disjointedness on the pan-European movement against austerity. The other week, what I saw from the actions in Turkey, the solidarity actions here in Turkey, Cambridge, where I live, there was about 50 Turks and about 15 English people. There were Greeks and stuff. And it was striking. And apparently the week before, when I was actually in London, I wasn't able to attend. There were even more. And it seems that the Turkish community is coming together and is going, beyond those old divides and seeing, what this attack on what was founded as a secular state is. And I think what we're missing in this country is we do have moments where we work together in a pan-European manner. The 14th of November was one such day where there was strike action across Europe, and we had a small demo outside the EU offices in Smith Square. But I think there's moments, and then it sort of drifts. And I was a bit disheartened to hear that the Alta Summit possibly wasn't as big as was hoped. And I think we really need to move towards, making sure that international issues are at the very heart of when we're discussing austerity in this country. We need to be discussing, because capitalism and the forces of neoliberalism are international. They don't see boundaries. They've been hacking away at those boundaries for decades. And what struck me about yesterday was when I was on the Greece Solidarity stall, I was asked by a chap from Portugal, I was trying to justify why we were the Greece Solidarity stall, and I said, well, when we were founded a couple of years ago, it was really, really bad, and it's got a lot worse across Europe. And I had to say to him, I'm not campaigning against austerity across Europe. Greece is in an absolute dire situation, and that's where my efforts are focused. But I think the coming together of the Turkish community, people in this country, and Europeans is actually a really good sign that there is a way forward. And I think perhaps it's time for us on the left in this country to drop our old divisions, to be very at the heart of the international debate against austerity. And what we're also seeing, in Latin America, in Brazil, over the past few days. And I'd just like to ask the panel, what their viewpoint is from their sort of respective countries, Greece and Spain particularly, and perhaps the Turkish comrade could tell us why he thinks there has been that sort of unity against the protests and the police brutality.
Thanks very much. Yeah, woman at the back there, please. That's you. Yeah.
I only found out about today by going yesterday to the People's Assembly, so I'm interested about how this has been publicised, because I think it's really important. I'm chair of an organisation called Campaign for State Education, and I'm very interested to know what's happening to state education in other countries, because here schools are being handed over to private sponsors, and children they have to make decisions about who goes to those schools. So in due course we may find that there are children who don't get into schools. But the point I wanted to make really is that the media is misrepresenting and not informing us of what's going on. And certainly the things even that we've heard this morning have not been put properly up in the way they have by those people from the countries themselves. In the media there is not a proper debate, there is no real picture of what's happening in other countries, and I think a lot of work has to be done to get the media to be more representative of what's really happening, and all the people who are fighting against the austerity measures have got to try and get better publicity generally, I think.
Thanks very
Any
much.
ideas for that would be great.
Right there, yeah.
I would like to raise the issue of people without papers who are bolstering the immigrant workforce, not only in this country but right across Europe. And very recently there was a number of Roma people who occupied an old football field and created a shanty town in north-west London. And these people on a daily basis stand outside on a prominent street corner of a busy suburb in North London, waiting for people to engage them for work. This sort of situation, to my mind, is an affront. I feel angry about it, and the trade union movement, Europe-wide, should perhaps draw some attention to this situation. And it's not only in this country, but it's everywhere across Europe. We've recently seen possibly the biggest migration of people around the world since 1970s.
Okay, anybody else want to come in before I, yeah, friend there. And then one at the back. And
in response to what you've just said, I would say quote, I can't remember who said it, but the woman said, I'm a citizen of the world, not of one country, and my passport's been taken from me when I was travelling because people are so poor in this country that they're all stealing things from each other. So my handbag was taken from me while I was on the train coming into London in November, and I still haven't managed to get one myself. And of course I'm privileged, I could get a passport. But on the other hand, our freedom is in our own hands.
Thanks very much. Take Natalie, then Lindsay, and then we'll have to move to the speakers to come back.
Yes, Nathalie Levallois from Le Parti de Gauche in France. Just to, I don't know, I arrived late, so I suppose you